Yeah, we have been discussing around the different phases, right? See, people tend to think too much around the strategy. See, that is important because technically, when you want to take a strategical approach on a particular workload, okay, so either of there are 7 different strategies. It used to be 5, sometimes it used to be 6, and then now it has been increased to 7 different migration strategy. So I will try to explain as much as possible in details, okay, and then we will try to get some examples also here. Rehost, replatform, refactor, repurchase, then retain and retire. See, I will help you to understand at a very, very high level, and then maybe we will get into the details of each of these options. See, when it comes to 7 Rs, the reason they call it a 7 Rs migration strategy, all these words that I have listed below, they all start with letter R, right? So that's the reason they are all called 7 Rs when it comes to migration strategy. See, rehosting in colloquial language, they call it as lifting and shifting the environment. We are moving the VM either from on-prem VMware environment. Maybe let me just put it, write it in details. So rehosting is you are completely migrating a large number of virtual machine from either physical or virtual to the cloud platform. Maybe it is also moving from third-party cloud like Microsoft or Google Cloud to Amazon Cloud. And in this particular case, we are just migrating the entire instance, and we don't have to worry about the compatibility, performance, disruption, and then the long cutover window. All these are taken care. Rehosting is we are lifting and shifting the systems from the source environment to destination environment. So that is lifting and shifting. We are just moving the entire virtual machine along with the operating system and the platform. The complete OS, complete the VM, complete VM is getting rehosted from one hardware to another hardware. We can keep it that simple. Okay, so we are moving from one hardware to another hardware. See, this hardware can be on-premises physical server, or it can be a VMware virtual machine, or it can be a Azure hardware, or it can be a Google hardware. We are migrating it to Amazon virtual machine. Okay, so we are moving it to AWS EC2 instance, EC2 hardware. Okay, replatforming is we are changing the platform. See, when I say platform, what we generally we are talking about the underlying programming language, right? We are talking about the platform that we are using. See, currently we might be running the environment or application on a physical server or a virtual machine, but here we are lifting and shifting, but there is some minor changes that we are making here. We are changing the platform, so that is why we call it as lift. Slightly we are going to tinker it, we are going to make some modification, and we are going to shift it. So we are lifting and reshaping it. In some cases they call it as reshaping. So currently it might be running on a VMware VM, and it might be moving to a Azure, AWS app services, or AWS Elastic Beanstalk, or maybe currently they are running it on physical server database to they might be moving it to Amazon RDS, so something like that. So we are kind of changing the OS layer, and we are changing the platform version or the platform layer. So there is no code changes. Okay, so as part of the uh, replatforming, the application code remains the same. The underlying platform will change. Underlying platform will be Amazon RDS instead of your Oracle database, instead of your VMware virtual machine. The underlying platform will be EC2 instance or Azure App Services. So here in repackaging, in replatforming, there is no code change, and it's like we are converting from infra as a service model to platform as a service model. Okay, you can just think it that way. So this is like to platform as a service. This is to infra as a service model. So refactoring, it's generally called as re-architecting also. Some companies, some providers, they call it as re-architecting model. So here the investment is very, very high. Okay, so we need to kind of change it from 32-bit to 64-bit platform, or we are just changing from monolithic application to microservices based containerized applications, or we are changing from 32 to 64-bit apps or operating system. So we are doing a complex activity here. So this is very complex. This is very cost is also very highly involved in this, and we might have a lot of service disruption. There is a lot of risk involved. So this is a very challenging stuff when it comes to refactoring. We are completely factoring the application to be compatible with the destination environment. Relocating, it's nowadays you guys are hearing VMware Cloud on AWS. That is what we call it as VMC, Azure VMware Solution. So we are relocating the virtual machine at the hypervisor level. So it's a hypervisor level lift and shift. Okay, so on-premises VMware hardware to via hypervisor level lift and shift. So we are moving from on-premises ESXi hardware to Amazon data center ESXi hardware. So only the hypervisor and the underlying physical server changes here. We are relocating the VM completely to the data center. Here, the underlying technology is going to remain as VMware. Instead of on-premises VMware vSphere environment, we are migrating it to Amazon. VMC on AWS or Azure VMware solution, something like that. So this is just relocating. We are just changing. This is a new term that was recently added after Amazon allowed VMware Cloud on AWS, and all these latest enhancements has brought in this new strategy. Retaining, see, as part of the discovery and assessment, we might have understood that customer has recently invested on some licensing, or they might have purchased a new hardware for this particular application and all those things. So we might have to revisit it later. Okay, so this is like we are not going to completely run it on the existing data center. We will revisit it after 2 or 3 years, or after 5 years, once after the licensing expires or the current environment has to undergo a hardware level refresh or OS level refresh. We will revisit it later, because the investment has been done recently and we don't want to kind of touch it immediately. So this strategy is called revisit strategy. And retire strategy is, so we will get to understand a lot of systems are just running like just running, but without any users accessing it, without any use cases on them. So we might understand some application servers or some database servers was used sometime in the past, but then it is no more used. So what we will do is we will follow the decommission practice. So you know the decommission practice, right? So we will have a what is that, cool down period. So for 2 weeks they will keep the system down, or 1 week for X number of days they will keep the server powered off, and then they will see if there is any compliance, if there is any tickets getting raised, and then they will also what you call take backup, and then completely do all the decommissioning work, and then they will do the decommissioning of the system. This is what we call it as retirement. So see, the system might have been running for some time before, and it was for some internal usage, or there is no business need currently for that application, so it is outdated, or you don't want to use them, so you want to eliminate that. So by eliminating that unwanted application, you are saving a lot of cost. And not only that, you are also reducing the lot of security risk, because those systems might not be updated because no one is using it, right? The OS will be outdated, the software will have a lot of vulnerabilities. So there is a lot of risk on that. So as part of the migration, we need to retire some of the systems which is no more needed, and maybe I mean, we call it as zombie applications or zombie servers. Okay, so which means they are not at all used, but they are just lying unused in the data center. So how do we find it? So we need to go and understand the performance monitoring data, and then how much CPU memory being used, and then how many number of users are accessing it, and what is the network traffic. So based on all these aspects, was there any recent storage level changes? Okay, was there any recent data update on the non OS disk? So if you go and analyze this, so if the system utilization is less than 5-10% at the CPU memory level, there was no storage level changes or data level updates in the last couple of years, and there is no network traffic, then we can just decide whether the systems are really needed, and you can start following the retirement process. As part of the migration, the portfolio, the project management team, they will also have the retirement of some application servers as part of the procedure. Okay, next we will talk about the retain aspect. See, retain is very normal. So as I told you, some organization, they might have invested on hardware or licenses, or they might have purchased some new software and they have got some OS licensing renewed. So all these things, subscriptions or stuff. So they have invested, okay? So they don't want to again invest on migration, move to different cloud provider and then start paying them again from the next day, right? They don't want to take that risk. So there is no business value for them because they have invested and they don't have budget. Maybe they want to retain those application on the premises for some more time until they meet the business. Until they get the budget. The next thing why we want to retain the system currently is, see, some of the security, legal compliance might not be met by the service provider. Okay, so that compliance requirement might not be available in that region or data center. So you need to adhere to that security requirement and you need to keep that system on the premises. Maybe there is some application or data residency requirement where it states that you should not put the system on a third party data center. And maybe there are some dependencies. It might be connected to some physical device or physical equipment on the on-premises data center or in their factory. So some kind of monitor will be connected. So those dependencies or some physical dependency application cannot be migrated. And you might have some very high criticality or high priority for some of the application, or this is very if you are migrating it and then if there is a performance issue, then it is a high risk for the business. So those applications might not get migrated. And even the apps, the OS that was recently updated or upgraded to latest version, even customer will not be inclined towards migration. And sometime they want to retain it now because some provider might have said they are coming up with some SaaS offering for their business unit for their particular operating model. Currently it is work in progress and they might say like they are waiting for some vendor based application to be available as a software as a service, and they will be moving it to that those later. And some of these system, right, for example IBM AS400 or Oracle Solaris systems, or maybe like non x86 based Unix applications, sorry, Unix apps, some mid-range systems, some mainframe systems. See, these are all still having some limitation on the cloud. It might not be fully available. So these systems are having some challenges as on date, and they might be migrated later, some of the mainframe and the mid-frame systems. Then comes the performance expectation. See, they might have done some POC, and then based on the POC result, the customer is not happy with the data, right? The performance expectation is not met, and they want to retain it for now. And then maybe in the future, if they get some better networking connection or better speed in that particular region, then they might migrate it at a later time. Then comes the next portion, repurchase. See, repurchase is dropping and shopping. I don't know why I missed this part here. So repurchasing is you want to drop what you have in your on premises. See, currently they might be using some traditional exchange server on the premises, and they might be having some current tool set which is no more making sense for them. So if they go for exchange online, physical exchange servers to exchange online, or I would say SharePoint server to SharePoint online, and then maybe to Microsoft Office 365 or something like that, right? This is completely you're dropping what you have in hand and you want to migrate to Office 365. Okay, something like that. So that way you are eliminating the dependency on the physical servers, licensing, operating system, and all those things are completely dropped out, and it is called drop and shop. Currently, whatever we have on the premises, we'll drop it and then we'll go and shop a software as a service product. So migrating to software as a service product. See, most of the organizations are currently using Concur, Workday for HR management, Concur for travel management, expense management. So a lot of different tools are being used even for collaboration. Currently, people are using Teams or online tools, open source tools for storing the document, collaborating with the teams, right? They will do it, and then there might be some ready-made application that are available in the cloud, and they will go and cloud centric or cloud based application. They will go and purchase and start using it. See, repurchasing means they have the budget and they don't want to go with the current model of operation, and whatever features that are there, they will analyze it, and then if those features are enough for the business to operate, if the application is accessible from anywhere, and if there is no infrastructure to maintain as part of their routine thing, then obviously customer will be happy with pay as you go pricing model, because they don't want to maintain the infrastructure, they don't want to maintain the licensing, they just have to purchase the number of subscription for the end users, and then they can just start using it. See, repurchasing model is very, very good if they have the budget. So repurchasing the application, typically it reduces the cost associated with maintaining the environment, licensing cost, infrastructure cost, and all those things, right? So um, repurchasing the SaaS apps helps with a lot of cost optimization, licensing, maintenance, management, infra, all those stuff, right? No infra to manage. And again, it's pay as you go pricing model or subscription based model. Number of users, 100 users. I need 100 license for 100 users, and you just start using it. And then end of the day, you are just paying for whatever you are consuming it. So there is few things that you might have to do. Repurchase is not about dropping and shopping. That is one important thing. But on top of that, see, your end users have to start using a new set of tool set, right? There is a learning curve, and there needs to be training for the business that you have to provide, because you are completely going to a new software, and the login process might be changing, the authentication and authorization process might change, and you need to provide some kind of training to the team, and you need to update them how they are using it. So in order to have the smooth transition from the existing software to the new software, you need to train them, you need to make them used to the new software. Initially they will have some challenges, because they will say this feature is missing, I was happy with that other product. So all those small challenges will come, but initially if they start getting used to it, then they can overcome this particular thing pretty easily. So what is the next one we have in hand? Relocate. Any questions so far on what we are discussing? So this is important as a technical person, okay? As a migration engineer, you can, as a migration architect, this is important, but migration engineer can also know all these strategies. See, relocate, as I told you, you are currently on physical on-prem, and then you want to move to VMware, SDDC on cloud, or VMC on AWS, or Azure VMware solution. You're just moving from hypervisor to hypervisor, and you can just transfer complete the virtual machine from the current environment. So you can move to a different VPC or different AWS region or different account. See, relocating is moving from one VPC to another, or one account to another, account to account, region to region. So relocate word is very common. Okay, we are relocating it either within AWS from one account to another account, or one customer to another customer, or one region to another region, or you are moving from on-premises physical server to SDDC and cloud. We are not doing any rewriting of application. Nothing is done. We are just relocating the complete VM as such from on-premises to the cloud. So next model is re refactor model. Okay, this is the most complex one. Refactor is re-architecting. So you have to do a lot of investment. So there is a lot of challenge involved here. So using this strategy, you are completely modifying the architecture. So you are improving, modifying the architecture, modifying the architecture or design to enhance. Definitely, see, without enhancement, without advantages, to get advantages of the cloud related offering and so on, we are changing it. So if it is, for example, customer will say whether it will improve the agility of how the business operates, whether there will be cost optimization as after this re-architecture, whether there will be better security. So they will all ask all these questions. So we need to show them how the performance is going to improve, how the options, scalability options, unlimited capacity, unlimited auto scaling or whatever, right? So you need to highlight how strategically it is going to help if you are modifying the architecture of your application. So we need to give the good advantages of scalability, like auto scaling, the unlimited capacity that you're getting in the cloud, the integration to AWS related services on the back end, like EFS or any different serverless services. So all these are stuffs which we need to explain it here. See, mostly customers will talk about refactor or re-architect when it comes to monolithic application to microservices. So indirectly, what I'm saying is, it is like we are moving from physical virtual machine OS-based systems to container-based application, containerized environment. So that is one main area. They call it as refactoring or re-architecting. And the other area is they are moving from 32-bit application to 64-bit application to help get all the latest benefits, the speed, and all those stuff, right? Maybe they also need to change it for getting some security and compliance improvements as well. Okay, so all these are important. As part of the re-architecting or refactoring, we are going to get all these stuff. So let me see, I did have some information on the slide deck. Let me just try to show if I'm missing any broad points there. Okay, so these are the different strategies that we have. What is the slide? Okay, that is fine. So these are the different strategies we have. So we some of the systems will be retired, some of the systems we will be revisited later. So we will determine the migration path after the discovery assessment is done. Okay, so rehosting is we are lifting and shifting to a different AWS instance or whatever. And in replatforming, we are determining what is the new platform, whether it is Azure, sorry, AWS, Elastic Beanstalk, or whether you want to change the underlying platform, language, the version, and you are just doing it. Okay, and after migrating it, you will do validation, transition, and optimization, which I will explain shortly. Repurchasing it, you are shopping whatever we are using, and you are going for a commercial on the shelf application, the COTS application, the software as a service application, and you are starting to use it. Re-architecting is you are completely rewriting the application code, you are decoupling the application into microservices, you are changing a lot of stuffs here. So there is a lot of code change, redesigning, there is a lot of investment. See, if you look at this particular screen, you will understand. See, the most effort will be spent on refactoring. Re-architecting is the most expensive approach when it comes to migration, because you are moving towards containerized environment. We are trying to use the serverless application options like AWS step functions or Lambda or whatever. Serverless architecture based deployment is what we are trying to achieve. Re-platform is the next expensive one, where we are moving from on-premises database to Amazon RDS, or we are moving from, see, here also we need to spend some time in making the application compatible with the destination platform. So there is some work involved here also. We are not changing the complete application code, but rather we are trying to change the platform and trying to give the services on a AWS PaaS offering. Repurchasing, I already explained. So these are the three very common strategy: refactor, replatform, rehosting. Rehosting is very normal. It happens in every single organization where you want to move the application to another server hardware in AWS data center. You are moving the entire application along with the operating system here. So yeah, so these are all the different strategies. I'm just trying to capture it on the recording so that you can look at it later. Okay, so these are all some abbreviations: commercial on the shelf, software as a service. Okay, so it's all captured. Okay, finally, so we have got a couple of slides which explains the three important aspects: re-host, refactor, and re-platform. So these are the three very common practice that we are using it. Re-hosting is we have a hardware, we have a virtual machine operating system, that is running the application. And what we are trying to do is we are completely moving the VM from on-premises hardware, either on VMware or physical server or Hyper-V to Amazon EC2 instance. So I will show you how to do the migration, how to do the testing, how you can test the cutover functionality and so on. So we use a tool called MGN, Migration Service. So they generally call it as AWS Application Migration Service. The abbreviation is MGN, Migration, for lifting and shifting. For rehosting, so we are going to see the tool AWS MGN for the migration purpose. And we can also use server migration surveys, or we can also do a export import. If the online migration does not support it, we can export the VMDK and then convert it to the format, OVA format, and then import them. Or we can take the VM VHD file and then migrate it to the EC2 instance. So that option also I will show you how to do a export and import practically from on-premises to the cloud. Next strategy is refactoring. Refactoring is what I explained some time back. We are starting to use the serverless application, containerized platform. We are completely migrating the databases to managed databases or serverless NoSQL databases like Cosmos DB or whatever the native offering from cloud providers. We are migrating from on-premises file server to EFS or FSX. We are migrating from on-premises queuing system or Exchange mailing system to as a service offering in the public cloud. So this is what we call it as refactoring. We are dropping whatever we are completely changing the architecture, and we are trying to use the native options from within the cloud. Replatforming is we are migrating from on-premises physical Oracle server to Amazon Aurora, or Oracle to Postgres, or MySQL database to Aurora. So we are using tools like database migration service to do the actual migration. But before that, we also do some kind of assessment using the DMA tool, and we also do a schema conversion, and then we migrated from the on-premises to the public cloud PaaS offering. So this is to platform as a service. So these are the three very common approaches that most of the customer use. Rest of them is getting these things are maybe customers are getting used to it in the recent past. And the other three strategies, it depends on system to system, right? This is important to understand, but this is not complete migration, right? It is just the strategy of how you are going to migrate each of your server. So finally, like what the program management team or the portfolio management team will do is they will have the complete list: server 1, server 2, application 1, application 2. They will have a complete inventory, and then they will mention the strategy that they are going to do, like whether they want to do a rehosting strategy for this one, or whether they are going to retire the system, or whether they want to re-platform the system to some offering like Azure, AWS RDS, or whether they want to re-architect it or refactor it. So they will have a complete strategical plan for each of the server, each of the application after this particular discovery, assessment, and planning phase. So that is what you are going to get as an outcome when you reach this particular phase before implementation. Now we are going to get into the implementation discussion. What we are going to do as part of the implementation phase, how you are going to execute the project at the portfolio level, at the maybe at the application level, how we are going to execute it. Any question before we move into the implementation phase? Okay, so should I take it at no questions? Okay, fine. So here we might use a lot of different tools for rehosting. We have a lot of tools like AWS MGN is the most popular tool, as I highlighted. You can also use third-party migration tools. Even you can use server migration service from AWS. You can also use there is one more this cloud endure, right? Cloud endure is no more. You can also use the cloud migration factory solution, the CMS solution. You can also do a VM export and import. That is also a good option. This is offline, okay, and this is online. You can do online migration using some tools. You can also do a offline export and import using certain tools here. So let's get into the migration implementation phase now. So as part of the migration implementation phase, we are going to have the actual work stream defined. Okay, so we have a lot of information now with us. Now we know what exactly is the customer planning to do. What are the different customer application list we have? What are the different business unit we need to deal with? What is the portfolio streams that we need to form? What is the project governance model that we need to make? What is the migration work stream we need to take? Okay, so now let's define that work stream model first before we get into the implementation. So deriving work stream. See, when I say work stream, some people make it too simple, like small to mid-sized company, they call it as wave planning. Okay, so wave planning is, so they will say non-critical systems should have to be migrated first, then critical, less priority systems has to be migrated, and then they will look at the different environment, and then the business unit that has got budget, immediate budget, and then so there is a lot of factors that helps us with wave planning. But in general, during this initialization phase, we call it as uh, initialization of the implementation activity. So here generally we have 4 core streams. Okay, so what are those work stream? Okay, so when we start with the work stream, we call it as foundation stream, foundation work stream, and project governance work stream, portfolio work stream, and we have a migration work stream. See, I will give you some high level idea on what exactly what exactly we are talking here. So we are preparing the infrastructure and the people in the foundation work stream. Prepare the people. We need to create the we need to find out which resources are going to be involved in this particular project, and who are all the engineers, who are all the architects, who are all the project managers, and all those things. This is the foundation of the migration, right? That's where we start and put together a playbook, or see, we can just say work stream or playbooks that we create. I will show you the templates that I have got, okay, and how you can fill in the information of all these work stream. So see, mostly the work stream will be used for very large or large to very large migrations, not for every single thing. So large to very large migration, they will have this work streams. When I say large to very large, maybe like 500 plus workloads or 500 plus applications. No, not 500 plus application. I would say 300 plus applications if you want to migrate. Then you can consider that as a kind of a work stream driven model where you can go and put together a kind of playbook, and you can start the project here. See, project governance, this is where you define uh, the processes that you are going to follow, the tools that you are going to have, what kind of templates you want to have, what kind of run book you want to create. So all these things will be defined in the project governance. What is the, where exactly we are going to have the checklist, where exactly we are going to have the, sorry, 1 second, I'll take some water. Sorry about that. So we will have the milestones defined. Okay, so what is the first milestone, where exactly we are going to look at how we are progressing with the migration. So this is all about governance. From the name itself, it says project governance. So we'll have to stick to what is the process we need to follow, who are the change managers, who are the critical contact spokes for each of the applications, business, and so on. So next comes the portfolio management. Portfolio management is where we go and do the wave planning. So that is what I told you, right? Wave planning is generally decided based on the criticality, priority, environment, budget, which business has got the most budget, immediate budget to do, who can allow the migration to start immediately. So all those things will decide on the portfolio, the wave planning, and they call it as portfolio assessment. Some people call it as wave planning, some people call it as portfolio assessment. So here we are going to start with the approach, which systems will go in which waves. For example, if you have some hundreds of applications or hundreds of workload, see, initially in wave one, we might have some guinea pigs, or we might have some test workloads or POCs or whatever, right? And then we will have some additional workload. Maybe it will gradually increase. We'll have some 10 servers here, we'll have some 20 servers, and then gradually, when each of the wave progresses, we'll have a lot of workloads. I think I have got a sample slide on how generally it looks like. Um, okay, so this is how people will do a wave planning. So they will have wave one, wave two, and then in wave one, how many servers, wave two, how many servers, and they will have a portfolio management team, and the migration team is the team who will do the actual cutover. So this is a kind of screenshot that generally we get during the wave planning or putting together how many workloads are going to be migrated in each of the streams. Then comes the important information. What is the migration work stream? So migration work stream will have the metadata information, which systems, what kind of configuration, what are the changes that we are going to make, how many, what is the underlying instance type, what kind of technology we are going to consume in the destination. So all those kind of technical aspects will be covered in the run book in the migration workbook. So there is one more, but I don't think it comes under the core work stream. So I've seen like health check matrix will also be involved. So I will show you these things one second. So these are the templates that I'm talking about. See, in the health check matrix, okay, we will have a complete set of information on how do we do a health check of the environment. So it is a complete step-by-step information. So you will have the context of the program, what is the target business outcome. So for each of the application, we will fill this. What is the strategy for this application? Is it a fixed timeline that we need to do it? What is the timeline to complete it? So we will have all these checklists. People, as I explained some time back, we will have a lot of information gathered about the people. We will have the information filled in about the process. Sorry. So we'll have about the people, we'll have about the context of the program, overall program. We will have some questions around so which engineers are involved, what skills are needed to touch this particular set of application, what is the process, what is the readiness. So we'll have some checklist, okay? So technology involved, people, process, and technology, and the overall context is what is going to derive the success of the program. So we will have to have this health check for each of your application. Without having a health check matrix, there will be a lot of unanswered questions. There will be a lot of clarity. There will be a lack of clarity at the later stage when you're doing the actual technical migration. So as a program manager, as a project portfolio manager, you need to have the health check fulfilled or completed, answered by the business owner or the application owner as part of the discovery assessment phase. I will share the checklist. You can go through that in a detailed way. So in fundamental, what I'm trying to say is, in order to do the migration, we need to create different work streams: technical team, project governance team, portfolio governance team, and there is a basic foundation thing that will be done by the account teams. So when I say account team, so there will be an in-between team between the actual delivery and the customer, right? Who will be ensuring like how many resources are needed, how much budget we need to allocate from the service provider organization or from the organization which is doing the migration. So we need to understand the stakeholders. We need to put together the list of people, which excellence team, cloud center of, maybe let me just do it this way. I will give you some more additional information that can help you. Who are all the stakeholders for each of the application? Who is the app owner? Who's the business owner for some of the departments? What is the escalation matrix to reach if some of them are not responding when you're doing the discovery? So you will have the delivery team who is going to do the cloud center of excellence team, who is doing the migration, actual migration team, migration engineers, migration architects, program management team, program and portfolio management team, project managers, portfolio managers. So we need to create all these things, and we also have to create a RASI matrix here. Okay, so some people call it as RASCI matrix, or some people call it as RASI matrix. So we need to have this RASI matrix filled. So who is going to do what activities? And this is a template that I generally use for my customers. So you have the complete list of activities starting from rehosting. See, if you want to do rehosting, what are the steps involved? And I've captured all the different steps in each of the phases, and I will have who is responsible, who is accountable, who should be consulted, and who should be informed out of the different teams. In some organization, they might have little more additional teams. So most of the organization, 95% of the organization will have migration engineers, infrastructure support team, cloud operation, application owner, change control team, the change management team, the communication, who are the stakeholders, the project management team. So we need to inform them. So I have RASI matrix for rehosting, replatforming. You can use this for whatever activity you want to perform. Okay, so this is a very good checklist that you can reuse it. But I mean, try to make some modification aligned to your organization. Maybe some additional steps might be needed, but I've covered most of the high level steps that is needed for ensuring this. And in some cases I've seen in the foundation phase, maybe there is some training that is needed on the customer environment. So they might be following some process procedures, so we need to undergo some security training from the customer side. So they will based on the customer to customer, so we might have to understand their environment. So they will ask us to complete some training before they allow us to touch their environment. So that is also needed during the foundation phase. So they will give us access only after we complete those trainings which they have listed in their organization practice. So we have to complete that. Then comes the technology side. So on the foundation itself, we might also build the architecture. We'll create the design documentation, HLD, high level design, low level design. We might have the implementation guide to some extent, but this is all around how you are going to set up the AWS landing zone, how many VPC, how many subnets, which applications are going to be in which AWS account. And this is all about the readiness of the people and the infrastructure on a very, very high level. People and infrastructure readiness. Infrastructure is AWS account, VPC, network connectivity, whether we have adequate bandwidth. All these are infrastructure readiness. People readiness is not just about the technical delivery team, the project managers, the migration team, who are the business owners, who are the stakeholders who should be informed about this migration. So all these information have to be captured in your foundation playbook or foundation work stream. Then comes your project governance work stream. So this is where you have the milestones, processes defined, how we are going to inform them about a particular phase completion, wave completion. So this is all about communication plan. Communication is very, very important. If you are not communicating properly, a lot of your migrations will fail. Okay, you have to have your rules, you have to have your boundaries, you have to have which systems you need to touch, what time you have to touch, maintenance window. So all these are very, very important. And escalation process, escalation procedures are very, very important in project governance. And they will also have a template maintained for raid log. So what are the risks that they are identifying? What are the assumptions that we are making as part of the migration? What are the issues we are facing? What kind of defects are there in the system? So all this have to be captured in separate log file. I also have a template. I will share you that. And you should also have the communication plan. We call it as communication gates, the milestones. What are the time every week or daily basis or a monthly basis? What is the frequency of communication phase, and when we are going to do the actual cutover? What is the maintenance interval? What is the maintenance window? So all these stuffs are captured here. Then what kind of tools we are going to use, whether we are going to track it in Jira, or whether we are going to use Snow, or what kind of processes we are going to follow, change management processes, tools. All these things are defined in the project governance. Next comes the portfolio work stream. Okay, so portfolio work stream, it's about the collecting the raw information, right? What are the implementation guide that we need to follow? we call it as run book, we call it as playbook, whatever term you use it. So the instructions that the migration team or the delivery team that needs to follow, and as part of the wave planning. So this is all about metadata info. Okay, which storage, which file system, what kind of network data we have. So they call, most of the organization, they have single source of truth file. Okay, this file will have complete information of every single configuration item: CPU, memory, what destination instance type we need to choose, what is the source consumption, performance utilization, what is the right sizing that we are approaching on the destination, every single information, how many partitions, how many volumes we need to present, what are the external shares we need to mount, what is the number of network interfaces we need to have, how many public IP address, private IP address, every single information will be captured in the metadata single source of truth. It is a configuration management database, as it's a CMDB file, I would say. This is what the entire migration team will be checking on, what they need to do, how they need to configure, what they need to change. And then the application priority, the criticality of the information will be there in the portfolio management, and whatever the deep dive information or the rules that they need to follow, all these stuff will be on the in the portfolio management category. And wave planning, procedures, all those stuffs will be captured here. Next comes the actual implementation migration. So I think what we will do is, we have got only 2 more minutes. So we will have the complete practical implementation, as well as we will discuss the implementation phase plus the migration best practices. What are the different challenges we will come across during the actual migration? So the actual implementation of the server migration or the application migration, we will see it in practical. We'll also discuss the theory portion along with the migration tomorrow. Finally, like, we have the uh, migration playbook. The migration playbook will have the run book template, the implementation guide that we need to follow, and what are the special handling we need to follow for each of the applications. Some application we need to check some services, some ports, some connectivity, some service, some scheduled task, whether it is running as before, whether the systems are getting backed up as before. So a lot of special handling can be added, and you can have testing, the cutover plan done. And we also capture the RPO and the RTO requirement in the portfolio itself. And we need to understand and do that. What is the maintenance window? We need to do the cutover maintenance window on when we need to do the actual cutover. And then if we can improve something, or if we can automate something as we move along in the project, that will help the program management team to have some lessons learned, and help achieve better success. See, finally, we have this health check matrix. As I told you, health check matrix is to check end-to-end people, technology, process, and it is very crucial for the migration to be very successful. So the project manager has to align with those checklists. They have to follow the entire thing. Maybe I will show you a few things on the template that I've got across during the foundation. So I will create the dashboard, which engineers we need, what kind of training, and as per the customer requirement, what are the training that they need to complete. And we need to follow we have to go and check whether the engineer has completed the training, whether they are ready for that, whether they know what exactly the customer environment is, the cloud adoption framework. And then I have also given some calculator that will help you to decide how much time it might take for replicating a particular system, and what kind of principles we need to follow during the foundation playbook. And this is about the portfolio playbook. I will explain all of these in a separate session. I will walk through one by one, but if I start doing that, I need at least 2-3 hours. But I will give you the template, you go through that, and then if you have some questions, I can give you clarity on that particular column or template. Okay, with that said, I think this is the first session where we had end-to-end theory without a piece of practical, but tomorrow it's going to be complete practical implementation of how we can migrate to AWS platform from third-party cloud to AWS. Any questions so far? We have completed the discussion of discover, assessment, and planning. tomorrow we are going to discuss the actual implementation or the migration phase, and along with that we will discuss about the timelines, best practices, what kind of challenges we will get. All those stuffs will be discussed tomorrow. So any questions on the content that you have discussed so far today?
Uh,
Yeah.
yes. I
Yes,
have.
yes.
Thanks for giving your full details. It's very useful.
Mm,
And additional, I have three queries from my side. If you
mm.
have time, we will discuss now. That
Yeah, yeah, I'm
first
I'm
one is
available. I'm available. Yes, yes. Go ahead. Yeah, question Q&A time.
in on premises.
Mm,
For example, we have underlying server,
mm,
Hyper-V or VMware.
mm,
So after some years, that the physical hardware is not compatible for to upgrade that new latest OS.
mhm,
So this scenario we are facing in this cloud platform like EC2.
mhm. So, see,
So
when it comes to cloud platform, it's all virtual machine, right? And mostly it is infra agnostic. The underlying infrastructure is not a real dependency. And when it comes to EC2 instances, the Amazon as a vendor, they are giving you the supportability, right? And most of the workloads that we are migrating, they should be running at least the supported operating system from the vendor. Unlike your Microsoft Azure allows some kind of legacy operating system also, just to get some advantage for the customer, just to give them some time. For example, they are giving extended support for Windows 2012 or 2012 R2 even after they stop the updates on the premises. But on the cloud, they give you some benefits. See, here in AWS platform, they are asking you to migrate to the latest version as soon as possible. But whereas in your on premises, even I have seen a lot of customers are still running their application or Windows 2008 or with the legacy application features. So that is one of the benefit of having your own infrastructure, right? You have the complete control, you have the complete decision making on what is the OS, what is the application, and so on. But in the cloud, it is being driven by the provider. So AWS decides on what are the OS flavors that we can run, what are the application versions we can have the platform, all those things. So definitely, like, there is an upper hand in the on the premises, but it is a risk for your application. See, if you are continuing to run in a very legacy OS or legacy hardware or legacy application platform, a lot of vulnerabilities will be there, a lot of risk will be there, and a lot of downtime. So here in the cloud, people are moving to cloud primarily for getting the cost benefits, scalability benefits, their flexibility, capacity growth, expansion, high availability, disaster recovery. They can have replication across different geographical data centers. So all these are the primary benefits. See, looking at the legacy compatibility, yeah, on-premises will be a very good option. But see, here the relocate option is also giving that advantage for you, right? So if you are relocating, you can just migrate the entire VM with the same OS, same old legacy content, right? That option is there with relocate option. Okay, so relocate gives you that
uh,
advantage. But coming to EC2 instance, yeah, there is a lot of limitation. There won't be a lot of support for legacy because of the security risk and compliance that AWS has to follow.
Yes, thank you so much. Actually, my question is not that. I will explain my questions once again.
Okay.
For example, I'm entering this EC2
Mm-hmm.
for example, latest OS is Windows OS is 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
After 5 years or 6 years, that Windows is released of 2025 OS version.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to migrate my OS from 2016 to 2025.
Mm-hmm.
That time, the underlying OS EC2, it can be supportable because of that underlying hardware is not maintained by us, correct? So the EC2 they can help us to migrate that new EC2, or we have to upgrade that voice at the same voice version, hardware version.
Okay, see, from 2019 to 2022, okay, so it is the same underlying hardware can be reused, the same instance family can support it. But I'm not sure, like, for 2025, I know, like, they have released a preview a couple of weeks back. I don't think there is a need for changing the underlying EC2 hardware. The same instance type can be used unless there is a hardware dependency or some kind of real change that needs to be done. Otherwise, like you can see, for example, a lot of customers are migrating from 2012 R2 to directly 2019, even with a skip of 2016. Even they are migrating from 2016 to 2022 directly. So that is all feasible. Okay, you can continue to use the same hardware, same instance type. There is no real need for changing the underlying instance type or instance hardware.
Okay, fine. Thank you. And one more question is, very recently, my software team, they are migrating on-premises SQL Server to Azure cloud platforming.
Mhm,
They face that issue that our OS is legacy OS,
mhm.
so which is that authentication is AD authentication. Now that the new authentication in Azure is Azure AD authentication.
Okay.
So they have a lot of challenges to getting that Azure AD authentication. So I
Mhm.
hope that there are solutions is available for AWS also. I'm correct?
Yeah. See, the thing is, okay. See, that is a unique case. See, for example, when you are running Microsoft SQL database on your on-premises Windows VM, right? See, currently most of the Windows operating systems, they are all having the on-premises Active Directory for authentication and allowing the users to log in and manage the database. But coming to cloud, even AWS as an example, so their SQL DB, they are not using the same Kerberos authentication. But if you need that, they are giving you support. You can go for AWS managed AD solution that will allow you to continue use the same credential what you have in your on premises, or you can have the same Active Directory domain controller migrated to EC2 instance, and you can use the same authentication. But then if you are going for example, if you're talking about Azure SQL DB or Azure SQL managed instance, or if you're talking about AWS RDS provided MS SQL. So here still it supports SQL authentication from AWS managed AD. That option is still there. Or else what you can do is you can completely migrate the authentication to Azure AD or AWS IAM or whatever. But there is a small uh, change in the code when we need to configure the authentication from existing to new. There is additional work that we need to do. I don't know why there was a need for changing the authentication mechanism, but even after migration to cloud, you can continue using the same Active Directory Kerberos authentication. There are options to enable that. But maybe I'm not sure what is the real situation with that application. But there are options to continue using the Kerberos authentication even in the cloud platform, even after migration to AWS RDS or Azure SQL DB. You can continue using Kerberos authentication. That option is there, but I'm not sure. We need to understand the situation better. But yeah, there is
Okay,
options. Okay,
thank
you
you so
can
much.
change the authentication method. They are giving you a lot of options. You can go for AWS native IAM, or you can continue to use the same Kerberos authentication like what you used to have in your on-premises.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions from anyone? Okay, so tomorrow we will have practical session. I know tomorrow it won't be that